and each one of us is, well, an expression of that.
Okay, so you are saying
within a mind, there are things that exist that are not material. That actually impacts the way the material world is arranged. Yeah. So I write something down on a piece of paper, and that would never exist in a world that didn't have consciousness.
That is what I was trying to say, that the material world...
If you don't call it matter, if you just call it energy, because then energy is encompassing of both conscious expression and material
we agree.
Stuff. Yeah.
We agree that the material world has its origin in the underlying eternal thing, whatever you call energy kind of thing. So,
no, I don't believe it was ever created, so it doesn't make any sense to me to say it had its origination, because it didn't originate. It and all things have always been eternal, they're just expressed
let us examine the
temporarily in some order.
That's possible, no problem, that's possible. Let's examine that possibility. So first, as far as our conversation has reached to the conclusion that the material world cannot have some property which is beyond this underlying thing, and whatever the abstract conception, let me say, the abstract conceptions, which is result of our mind, also bound by this, this underlying...
It's contained.
It's contained.
The boundaries of mind aren't so restricted.
So whatever abstract thing we are, supposing or we are able to imagine. So as far as your model is concerned, it is always contained within the underlying thing.
Underlying. English is not the best language to be able to discuss such.
The source.
Bizarre
call it thing. That thing. We're happy with the word thing. It's an underlying thing.
The thing that's fundamental.
The eternal thing which is not like matter. So, is it okay? The eternal thing which is unlike matter.
Sorry.
If it is like matter,
it's always energy. It's always some kind of energetic expression.
So let's reduce it down to energy.
So
you're saying
the word matter in English, when you're talking about it like that, means that the physical stuff that we can perceive, something that is affected by gravity, whatever. But there are things that we know that exist that have some physical sense that are beyond the universe, that are outside of our visitation, like particles that pop into existence, energetic expressions.
Just on that point, just on that point. I mean, I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of quantum mechanics here. When people say particles pops into existence, do the quantum physicists mean they were non-existent and they came into existence, or they were just transforming from some form of existence?
Yeah, it's an energetic excitation in what we describe as a quantum field, whatever that actually is.
So they were not non-existent and come into existence, do they?
They come into existence in the sense...
These fundamental particles,
it was meant.
Fundamental particles and antiparticles, whatever you want to call them, when they come into existence, as the quantum physicists are saying, do they have a prior existence or they have non-existence? And from this non-existence, they pop into existence. This is a fundamental question that we need to clarify.
So it would be like the example of yourself, right? If you exist at some point in time, and at some point, you'll expire, and then it would be fair to say that you came into existence from something that existed prior.
So you're saying
I wasn't the energy that formulates yourself.
So basically, then
prior to yourself.
Basically, you're agreeing. You're agreeing. Oh no, continue.
But in the same sense that I can say you originated in a certain place, it's not accurate to say that what's standing in front of me.
So the fundamental particles comes from where? From existence or from non-existence?
Well, from energy. In exactly the same way.
Thank you. So now we agree then. Language has made it clear, colloquially and scientifically, that they come from existence. They are transformation.
Yes.
They're only a transformation from one state to another. So they don't come from non-existence. Let's seal that matter. People have a misconception that particles pop into existence from nothing. No, they don't come from nothing. They're already something, and they only transform. Okay, now continue. It was important to clarify that matter.
So we agree that they are not coming from nothing. I mean, they are something, and that thing is... So whatever
there is a sense in which I do believe nothing exists, and there is somewhere where
science operates in causality principle. Science is operated on causality principle.
Yes, all things.
So there's always cause and effect.
Yes.
So there has to be something that always existed. There always has to be an explanation.
We agree.
Yeah, we've got
We
way
all
past
agree.
that.
Yeah, but you're saying coming from nothing. But particles,
He doesn't believe there's nothing,
no.
ever.
you don't believe there's nothing.
No, he doesn't believe there was ever nothing. Do you want to clarify your concept of nothing?
Yes.
When we say nothing is the absence of everything, do you agree with that concept, the philosophical nothing? Or are you talking about the level 4 or 5 nothing of Lawrence Krauss?
No, I don't think. Yeah. So there, in order for all things, everything to exist, there must be somewhere, someplace in an infinite thing where there is in fact absolutely nothing there. But of course the complete philosophical nothingness of there not being anything anywhere in any space is impossible.
So from that absolute nothing, you get nothing. You can't get something out of it. From that absolute nothingness, there will be no something coming out. Something will not come out from it. Because
it would be
absurd.
The immovable object.
No, it's absurd to even postulate that. It would be absurd to say something can come out of absolute nothingness. So that means your position of something means something was always there in some form or another.
He's already agreed.
Yeah, so exactly. So on that position,
we are common
in all
ground.
places,
We
spaces,
are on a common ground that there is always something existing, and that something is beyond material world. I mean, some property which is...
some of it is beyond the material world. The material world is not.
At least some properties which should be beyond material world.
Yeah.
And you propose that it could be energy. It could be energy. Because it is not bound by laws of material world.
We know there are things that are not just energy being expressed. But so if you experience a concept and you write that down, that isn't part of the energetic construction of anything prior to the universe.
Okay. So you are saying that there is some
formulation
abstract
abstracts themselves, like things that don't exist in any physical form, but actually interact and behave.
Kind of information, or you are saying that some abstract information.
If I can say, the only thing I think God is an abstract that just interacts with reality, the universe, and energy. So you have a concept in your mind of what God is, and that, like abstraction, has all the information and properties and categories and expressions of what God can be from a human perspective. What's really
let's examine your abstract space, eternal abstract space. What I say. Do you agree that if I term that eternal abstract space,
things that you can't make, like a circle,
eternal abstract
can never exist
space from where matter or some laws or everything comes. So we have an eternal abstract space which contains all information, abstract information, and all abilities, all possibilities. You know. So what the characteristics should this abstract space possess? And what are the characteristics? So now it should have ability, energy.
Sorry.
So
this thing that you're conceptualizing, it must have properties.
Otherwise, it cannot give rise to.
But it's purely a mental object.
In reality, it has to have existence in reality. Otherwise, it cannot transform anything. To do transformation of our world,
abstract mathematical concept. I can write an abstract mathematical concept on a page, but it will not create something real. So it needs energy. I mean, law book cannot.
So an abstract doesn't have to be expressed to be there. It's like
can an abstract make any transformation of our real world?
Every possible variation of yourself that isn't in existence here, but you might have gone somewhere else this afternoon, and there's an abstract of you that exists now in expression, but it's not actually real.
So you are proposing two kinds of abstracts. One kind of abstracts we usually see, mathematical abstraction in our real world, which does not.
The mathematical abstraction is a property of mind. It's something that's abstracted.
It's part of mind. I can imagine an abstract being, but it does not pop up into existence out of my thinking.
Yeah, that's the abstraction.
This is the abstraction. It is limited because
mental conscious.
This is the abstract. What I'm saying, that this is the abstract. It is limited because I am thinking it in my head or brain, but it is not able to come out into existence.
It's never realized in its absolute form.
But you are not talking about that kind of abstract. Otherwise, that abstract would sit like that. No creation would be there.
Or no thing will transform.
I was never saying that's all that existed. I was never ever saying that was all that existed.
What always existed?
What I was saying was the abstractions themselves, because there is a thing that we can conceptualize that.
But conceptualization
comes into existence.
I think we need to go one step
through
backwards.
energy.
What always existed? It wasn't matter.
Everything that has ever existed
When you say
always existed.
when you say everything, let's reduce that thing to some essential characteristics. What is that thing that always existed? What properties does this thing have that transforms?
All the energy that you perceive around you has existed in my
Okay, so it's energy
That's why I
then.
have said energy.
So let's
But
take
it's not
it
just energy. Other things can exist
Like what?
eternally.
Energy plus information.
Sorry?
Otherwise,
Like,
energy
and
cannot.
what?
Like what?
But I'm asking, this is your concept. You're bringing a model forward. So in your model, you should tell us, in my understanding, what existed eternally, and these are energy plus what? You tell us, and then we can analyze and see whether it's meaningful to accept this kind of model.
I'm literally saying everything that is.
No, when you say
existed.
everything,
Yeah.
we need to define what you mean by thing. Because for us, thing is either matter or energy, isn't it? What else?
Sorry, trying to think.
Because
of a
matter can be broken down.
I'm just trying to think of a definition that doesn't include the word thing.
Yeah.
It's an object that can be referred to.
Okay. What are the properties of that object?
They're determinate on the space in which, or the place, or the time, or the expression of whatever they are.
So whatever
it's not
the
something I can
minuscule
define in the
component of that thing, which is an object, it is already determined.
But it's objects. It's
No,
all.
sure. So these objects are determined. They're determined by certain rules. That's what you're talking about.
Yes.
And these rules are applied to transform. Because without application of the rule, transformation cannot happen. Do you agree? Matter-energy conversion will not happen if the rule is not applied.
If there is only rules, then there is no free expression of anything, even from an infinite source. So there is something that must exist that is transcendent of rules.
And what is that thing is what we are just trying to understand. So it's not just energy and rules, because you're going beyond rules. That is transcendent.
So in the infinity of all things, randomness itself is a thing that would exist.
And what do you mean by randomness? Are you talking about randomness is the absence of rules? Or they're still governed by some rules? Because chaos is actually not random. Chaos can be quantified and actually show chaos theories, lots of theories. So what do you mean by randomness?
True chaos would be random, but obviously in anything that has to have a discrete value.
In our world, is there anything truly chaotic that you observe?
There can only have been one event that was truly chaotic, which would have been the initial singularity. That
doesn't look like chaotic. It's very precisely determined. That's why the fine-tuning theory comes in. It's so finely tuned.
You only need one chaotic event.
No, you say chaotic, but we say, looking at an observer outside, this is so finely tuned to make life possible in this world. Because if it wasn't,
the fine-tuning argument is very good.
No. I'm talking about your concept of chaotic emergence. I am saying. So it doesn't look like it's chaos.
Just say you have an infinite space of energy, whatever it is, and within that infinite space there is the abstraction and the ability to express everything that can possibly be expressed, right?
Yeah.
And then within that there is enough stuff for it to contain an actual chaotic, random.
Is it under a particular rule
expression.
to behave that way?
It's boundless.
No. If it's going to govern in a chaotic behavior, it's following that rule.
No, not necessarily.
Of course it is.
No.
Because if it wasn't bound by any rules, it could actually be in conformity consistent, applying it in a particular way.
So if you have a space that has no rules, rules will emerge.
How?
Because if you have an infinite free expression of everything, then you are going to get expressions, and then rules will form from those expressions because they will interact. Because you will have to have
what we have already
that emergence of non-randomness of order from chaos.
Having an abstract idea that does not make it able to make something into reality. You know?
No, but I don't believe the abstractions are what becomes real. The abstractions are expressed.
As far as I can understand,
there is an abstraction that is you, and there is you in front of me.
As far as I can understand, your eternal, existing thing, this space, abstract space, it has energy, abilities.
Sure, yeah, and it's just a label.
It has information or conceptualization. I mean, something like space-time kind of thing has certain properties, specific properties. So from
sure, it does in this local space.
Specific
whatever
properties.
Form it takes in other places.
Specific properties, and then it should have something, some potentiality to give rise to consciousness. It has some property to give rise to consciousness.
Consciousness is another thing that that exists.
So our consciousness is not coming from elsewhere, because we have only this abstract space. So as far as your definition, this abstract space has ability, energy. Now it is not bound to any rule.
This is.
If this abstract,
abstract space takes up no space.
I can't take
your abstract space. I mean, so no space. So no physical space. It's just the mental space. No physical space. I'm not saying no physical space. Correct. So
and it exists everywhere in all places.
No problem. That is not bound by the physical space. Physical space is result of that. We agree about that. So this, whatever you are proposing, this entity.
Do you want to answer our brother from Morocco somewhere?
So this, let's understand its property. We agree in both of many of the things you have said, but we are arguing that we are trying to understand whether this thing is under any rule or not. So you have said that it is not under any rule. It has the possibilities, it has the capabilities, it has all the information. Now we ask that if
are we representing your position correctly? We don't want to strum on your position. Fine. We don't want to strum on your position, because once you lay it forward, we will take that and analyze it and see if it's coherent or not.
So if we just go back to say, it seems you're trying to drive it. There is something like one entity, right? That it is necessarily unified, singular. That its properties would be shared amongst everything that existed prior to necessarily just this local space, if other spaces, other permutations of existences exist.
Because it's not a physical space.
I can't pin it down to that, to necessarily that defined, in that it is just plucked from an infinite number of permutations of possibilities.
Possibilities also informations. I mean, those are informations. Possibilities are not devoid of information.
The universal bounds. Let's say, just for the sake of it, we'll just represent this is the absolute infinite number of things that can exist in any particular given space. Like the maximum number of rules of information density that you can have.
So that space is beyond our physical space.
And then nothing here. Our universe exists somewhere within that space, right? In that we aren't infinitely informationally dense, and we're not of no information density. Right?
Okay.
So if you take it back to a prior time, if you had infinite information density in all places, right, of something that has some energy or some, there's still everything that exists eternally. That within that infinite information and energy space, there is randomness, there is pure chaos, there is the ability for not a thing, not any individual particle piece or anything singular. It's an infinite.
But here is we need to reduce it down to what
it is not a
within this
in and of itself. It is all things.
Within this infinite space of yours, we can reduce it down again, because they're not one thing, right? You said they're not one thing. You said they're not one thing. If they're not one thing, then
they're not just one thing.
Good. So they're not just one thing.
Yeah.
So if there are many, then we can take any one of those things out of this many. Do you have a number? This wasn't in the weather forecast. So human beings can try.
It rained last time.
So what we're saying is, if there is not just one thing, and there's possibility of many in your model, when we pin down to any one of those many, the question would be, what are the irreducible essential properties of those things out of many? Either they're there eternally, or they're not. If they're there eternally with no beginning, the question arises. They are self-existing. Self-existing. If they're self-existing, what are the essential qualities they should possess if they're self-existing? Reduce down any of those many things out of your eternal space. What are the irreducible essential properties of an eternally existent thing?
What makes the differences?
The only thing you need to be in existence is the impossibility for you not to be in existence.
So you're a necessary thing.
Sorry?
Excellent.
Sorry?
So that means your existence is necessary. That's what you mean. It's impossible not to exist.
In many senses of necessary, yes, but not in the absolute sense.
If you're saying it's impossible for you not to exist, means it's necessary for you to exist. That's what it means.
Not quite in the strict philosophical.
That's semantics. If it's impossible for you not to exist, that means you have to exist. Do you agree?
I'm just trying to
process it.
There's some inconsistency in the language.
Okay, process it.
Necessity has the property of, when you talk about necessary being, you say that it couldn't have been otherwise.
Yes. No, we're talking about
wait.
the other.
Let me
Your
explain
concept.
first.
Okay.
I know. And if you're talking about a looser concept of necessity, in that, yes, there is no possibility in which I could not have existed because I am in existence. Then that's true.
That irreducible.
It's not to say that there is no possibility for something to have been different conceptually.
So let's go back again. You said it's impossible for it not to exist.
I did not have to be exactly.
You said one of the essential properties of those eternal existing things. Let's go back again to clarify your position. One of the essential, irreducible, essential qualities was impossible for it not to have existed. That's what you said.
Yeah.
So if it's impossible for it not to have existed, it means what?
Possible existence.
It means he has to exist.
He has to exist.
The other opposite alternative is impossible.
So I agree with a certain.
What else do you mean by that? Okay, what else do you mean if you don't mean that? When you say
because I agree, I accept an idea of chaos as well within that.
No, but your question about impossible not to have existed, it has only one meaning. How can you have double meaning? Tell me. Tell us.
Sorry, that's just a language thing. So. It's like you can't have something that happens and then unhappens. There is no way for anything to be actually reversed. It's like
you mean unfrying an egg? It's not possible in our world.
No, not like that. But like we're having this conversation. It's impossible for us never to have had this conversation. So it was absolutely necessary.
How do you say that?
Sorry?
How do you say that? How do you make that point?
Sorry?
You're a determinist? Is it all determined that we should have a conversation?
You're not hearing my expression.
Explain yourself.
So you've just said a word.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility of which you could have not said that word now? Can you ever take that having said that word back?
A possibility existed that I could not have said anything.
Yeah, but now, right now...
No, it's happened.
It's happened?
It's happened.
There is no possibility of anything being able to
But we're not talking about after happening. We're talking about the conceptually, if you believe in some eternal existence.
are all within that as well.
Now, when we're talking about abstract sense, a concept in which something exists eternally, you reduce it down to that it has to be always, it's impossible not to exist.
So all the futures that were possibilities exist in the abstract. Some chaotic element has, at some place in time and space, created some event that brought,
but that, according to you,
into existence, and those chaotic events give rise to a single expression within a localized space. And there may or may not be.
Are you not contradicting yourself? Chaotic events itself, as it's happening and happened, it's impossible not to have happened. So is that chaotic or is that determined?
Well, chaotic wouldn't necessarily have to be determined. But
no, you see,
the follow-up.
When it happened,
cause and effect.
Well, no, when it
cause
happened,
and effect comes into effect once you have a cause.
No, when it happened,
if you have no cause, then there is no effect.
No, I'm missing something. When you say a chaotic event and it materialized, when this happened, was it possible for it to not have happened? Is it impossible for it to not have happened?
Well, it's impossible for it not to have happened now.
No, when it happened. When it happened.
Yeah, then
it was determined.
It was not necessarily,
well, according to you, it's well determined.
It became
You're a hard determinist, isn't it? It's determined. That's why it's happened because it was impossible for it not to happen. It was necessary for it to have happened. It was necessary for it to have happened. It was impossible not to have not happened.
It was not impossible for it not to have happened.
You said it's impossible for it not to have happened because...
I'm talking about different timelines. So if you go back to before there were any rules, and you have an event that occurs that is causeless, that exists within a chaotic system, that has enough information density to be able to selectively, internally self-define a thing from no prior decision or event.
But you're missing a crucial point. Having information density of anything, was that necessary for it to have it? Impossible for it to not to have it, is the question. I'm reducing to the most irreducible components of a thing that you consider essentially eternal. So when you have, out of many possible eternal things, let's take one of those things which you consider to be essentially eternal. That essentially eternal thing, is it possible for it not to have those properties eternally? It must have them, necessarily. It's impossible not to have it. It must have it.
I'm not sure.
Okay, explain then how, otherwise.
We just assume that I do. Carry on the conversation.
No, we can't do that. We need to agree on something that's meaningful rather than for the sake of argument.
I'm not sure if I'm understanding quite what the disconnect is.
When you said something that exists eternally, one of the essential
everything exists
one of the essential quality is
down to a single thing, which is itself both the.
No, I didn't say in your models. I didn't say in your model it's just one thing. I said let's take out of many things. Let's take one of those things.
Yeah.
If one of those things is actually necessary for it to be as it is, yeah. So it is a necessary thing, and necessary things necessarily has some attributes. They're not devoid of it. They have necessarily inherent attributes.
Yeah, so if you had something that itself was causeless, cause and effect don't.
Something cannot cause itself when it was not there. So you cannot bring causation to a thing.
I'm not saying that at all.
An eternal thing cannot be described as being caused. Semantic makes no sense.
Finite things can be caused.
But we're not talking about finite
within
things.
An expression of
we're talking about
than
infinite things, and please continue with this line of thought now.
So we are dealing with eternal things, and that is not bound by any physical laws or kind of thing. And you have proposed that there may be certain different things.
All temporal things are made of eternal things.
Now the eternal things, you have said eternal things. We were trying to understand that how can there be many eternal things kind of thing. And what are the essential characteristics of a single eternal thing you propose? So now, if you have many eternal things, now what is the criteria? What is the criteria by which you can differentiate among them or between two of them? What are the
at least two of these?
Yeah, at least two of them.
Among many.
Eternal. We are
because
talking about eternal
just to summarize before you answer, we can only comprehend one such eternal thing. This is our position. But you are giving a position in which there can be more than one. So how do you differentiate between at least two of these many eternal things?
So there's an aspect of the eternal thing that is unified in a sense, but it's not just singular in the same, like, so if you say infinity, right, it's unified in one sense in that it's completely unbounded, it's limitless, it's whatever, but that's not a unification, and that infinity contains all finite sets, all things already within it, which is not that those things are all discrete within the infinite.
Okay, let me ask you, if this space contains everything, can this space contain the entity we call God? That is also eternal. Yeah. So you are already accepting that. Existence of God.
It depends on exactly what you're referring to as God. I don't think that's a God of any value
so God
or meaning
is,
or purpose. God is
eternal, able being with certain abilities which you cannot predict, like chaotic.
But infinitely many of that God exists. In all places, space and time. There is no differentiation.
It won't be coherent to accept or hold any position like that.
We are trying to understand. So you have already accepted that this eternal, your eternal thing, eternal stuff of whatever that was.
I've been trying to get him to get there for a long time.
You are already.
Wait, I say everything exists, and he goes, well, then you believe in God.
Infinity is a qualitative attribute. It's a qualitative attribute. It's a characteristic of something. Yeah, and every existence, every existence you have to describe by attributes. If it's non-existent, there's no attributes. Otherwise, it's meaningless. Can you describe non-existence for me? You can't. Every existence, there's characteristics, there's attributes. That's how you can recognize the existence of something, right?
You would describe non-existence by the negation of all the possibilities.
Yeah, negation. Yeah, but that's not a positive assertion, is it? No. You're making a negative assertion by using in order for you to understand non-existence, you can only understand non-existence from the meaning of existence. And that's why, and I agree with you. That's why the non-existence is nothing, no thing. Do you understand? Right.
Yes. Yeah. There is a...
So if it's non-existence, there's no description of it. There's no qualities or attributes. Every existence, there's qualities and attributes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
there are qualities and attributes to the infinite,
exactly.
But it contains all properties and qualities.
Yeah, but infinite.
There isn't the discrete thing of this is God. And this
I think what he's trying to say is infinite is actually a quality. It's not a thing.
It's not a thing.
It's linked to a thing.
It's linked to the essence.
Sure.
Yeah. So if you postulate the creation around you, Allah says, Allah says, وَفِي الْأَرْضِ لِآيَاتٍ لِلْمُوقِنِينَ وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ. Allah says that, and in the earth there are signs for those people who have certainty, and within themselves do they not observe. You look at around you, the creation of the heavens and the earth, you can postulate that the existence of the creation must come from someone who's the creator, who has the qualities of power, knowledge, existence. That's it. It's that simple.
If it contains all the information, then it is equivalent to knowledge. If you cannot predict its final outcome, then it equals to free will. You cannot distinguish between free will and...
How do you get out of God being just as deterministic as all other things?
What do you mean?
So, could God have decided not to create this exact expression of the reality that we're experiencing?
Yeah, he could, but he could do whatever he wills.
So, what is it that is abstract and outside of that? He gives God the ability to choose beyond a
because he's a necessary being. And we are the dependent things. They require explanation.
But
any contingent beings could have been otherwise.
Necessity.
That means our creation could have been different.
Yes.
It's not necessary that we are like this. God could have created us differently.
What is it that grants that free expression to that necessary being?
It's not backwards. We're saying a sovereign, self-sufficient being can create agency with limited amount of free will and give the scope to operate. Yes.
Actual free choice?
God, who is actually possessor of will, willed a universe in which a scope is given and they can operate with free will within that scope. They don't have absolute free will.
But does God have absolute free will? In that you do not have any necessary.
God being necessary, there is no restriction of his will. There's nothing to restrict his will.
Exactly.
But from what does God get his will?
It's not. That's the category mistake. God doesn't get anywhere. God is always there, inherently possessing.
God has a will.
I'll explain. If something or someone is always there, eternally existing, they don't acquire from someone else attributes. They inherently possess them because nothing gave them life or existence. Nothing can restrict it. So whatever necessarily they necessarily exist with attributes. And we say the attributes that we can discern as creation is one of existence of the creator, the necessary being, possessing power and ability,
Yes. So,
and also possessing will or choice or volition. Why? Because if this was not possessed by this necessary creator, originator, then you won't see anything happening. Because from a necessary being to bring something finite, you have to make a choice. You have to decide to bring, otherwise nothing will follow. Because to necessary being an eternal being to bring something temporal, a choice has to be involved. Without a choice, nothing will come.
not if there is something that is able to produce randomness within it. But
the existence of randomness itself is questionable. When you say, can randomness in reality exist by itself?
It's just as questionable as what you're proposing, in that some being already knows all things and everything.
What restricts his knowledge? When we agree,
I didn't say anything restricted. How did God make a determination?
Wait.
To bring anything into existence?
Choice.
Select.
1 second.
Free.
What made that choice?
No, God is the necessary being. By necessity, is self-sufficient.
So if you have free will, right, and that's a property that's given to you by something that has supreme free will, to what is that free?
Okay.
So there is an abstract
so
that
when you
contains
say
all that information against you. From that, a choice was made.
Yeah, you can understand it.
But from what, why, or how do you make that determination?
So whatever you are saying about chaos kind of thing, that completely undeterministic, completely indeterministic chaos, complete. Then
chaos, according to you, is undeterministic. According to you, that's what chaos is. In true, chaos is.
Yes.
Right.
So
chaos and order exist within boundaries.
Yes. So in your conception,
chaotic elements that give rise to order. So order is the formulation of rules.
Let's understand.
And rules restrict chaotic expression.
No, let's understand. If you assume or conceive or accept that there are something called, there can be something of the similar kind of concept of chaos kind of thing that cannot be 100% determined beforehand. Now what is preventing you from associating this concept to God's ability and power?
You are happy to accept. No, you are happy to accept. You are happy to accept
It's not
this indeterminacy, right? You're happy to accept the concept of indeterminate or indeterminacy in an abstract sense. Why can you not conceive that being a property within the will of God in which you cannot determine anything? He's totally free. He operates with his essence, but to you, there's no way to determine any of that.
but it is he has information, he has ability, and his will or action cannot be determined. So how it can be? I mean, how it is?
So
it is not possible. If your character is always possible, so why it is not possible?
There's different levels of deterministic thinking. So for whatever reasons, like we're saying, God chose it in your model. God chose to create this universe. Right? Is there any possibility that God could not have chosen to create this universe?
Yes, we already said so. Yes.
In what sense does that make sense?
Eternal attribute.
As far as
when you bring a possibility of otherwise, not as it is, like not necessarily be like this. Yes, that's what we mean by contingent.
So there was a
we could have been otherwise.
Beforehand. He was. There's different concepts of Allah where he's not in the same sense of being like future aware as some of the more Christian models. No,
I don't understand.
He knows what he has determined, but it's not.
You're conflating. You're conflating and convoluting a few things.
It's much more like
you're conflating. You're conflating.
Knew what he would do.
When we are now saying the eternally existent thing, which we are now saying the originator of everything, God or Creator,
pre-eternity, always.
No. When you're talking about something that exists eternally and possesses will. Now, the reason why we can postulate that intellectually while we are being creation is that without a choice and volition involved, nothing would have proceeded from him.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's not questionable that he possesses a will.
Yes. The only difference.
So what is the
only fundamental difference between our models? Is that I don't believe that was a unified choice. I think it was some element of an expression of chaos, and the order arises from chaos because a chaotic system necessarily will induce.
Is chaos necessary? Does it necessarily exist? What is the property of chaos that it is impossible not to exist? No. What is inherent within chaos that it is impossible for it not to exist?
Because it exists in a sense.
No. It's not because it is. That is not an explanation. You have to have something that has explanatory power. Any explanation that has an explanatory power.
It's just a language thing. I've got a concept in my head, but I'm not sure how to explain it.
Please define.
Chaos would just be a fundamental instability in the fundamental energy that exists.
How can it fundamentally, essentially, eternally exist? How can fundamentally, essentially, eternally exist?
It's like if something possesses the ability to express all things, and you have an abstract that is
that's not chaos.
But what if you have a lack
if someone has the ability, brother, if
Yeah.
someone has the ability to express all things, that's not chaos.
Exactly.
That's why
I'm not
I
talking
brought
about
the concept of God. You already
something
accepted
defined.
that this space
Yeah,
contains
but
God.
he keeps defining what it is, and he's asking you, how does it come to be? Huh? Yeah.
Sorry.
You're expressing what it is, and he's asking you, how does it come to be? That's the difference. That's where your crosswire is.
We have a little bit of difference, but if you remove that, we are on the same page.
Chaos doesn't really exist because chaos doesn't exist because that's only because you have a lack of knowledge. If I, for example, if I smash a glass on the floor, on the ground, one second. If I smash a glass on the ground, yes, even scientists and physicists, they can measure the precision, they can measure the impact, the pressure. So in reality, chaos doesn't exist. It really doesn't. It's because of the lack of knowledge.
Not in any kind of reality that we inhabit. No. But I'm not talking about.
Otherwise, how can you study science?
Sorry?
How can you study science? It is chaos.
Do you want to just briefly explain the uncertainty principle, so you will explain a bit what chaos is and where it lies in? When you say something is uncertain, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle.
See, here's the lack of knowledge when it comes to philosophy of science.
I don't have a lack of knowledge. I know very well.
Okay, what does science assume? What does science assume philosophically?
many things.
Which one?
Sorry?
Which one?
You're asking for particular expressions.
No.
Just tell me what you're...
Conformity, uniformity,
uniformity of nature.
Yeah.
Nature.
So where does science assume from chaos comes order?
Sorry.
Where does science assume that from chaos comes into order?
Well, say something about this.
So, I don't know if you accept the Big Bang model. I don't know exactly whether that's exactly how it happened, but
No,
just for argument's sake, there was a very low entropic state.
Yes.
And entropy is increasing in the universe.
What if there's rules and regulations?
Sorry? What if?
Yeah. So you may perceive to be chaotic, but there's rules and regulations.
Are you talking about one of the laws of thermodynamics?
Yes.
And,
it's a law.
And that's a law, isn't
That's
it?
a law. It's not chaos. It's a law. A law is just an expression of its
rule, isn't it?
Yeah.
Second one.
Wait, 1 second. You're not
Second.
science.
Adding too many things to the conversation, so I'd have to have a bit longer, more of a scientific conversation.
So let us go back to the uncertainty and chaos kind of thing.
What's the point?
The problem was
What's the point of the...
So we have agreed that whatever the eternal being was existing, that was that have power, ability, energy, what do you call it? So let me define what we understand by energy. So the concept of energy is not like something whitish cloud. Energy is not something whitish cloud.
It's not a white cloud thing. You know, people say energy is like a white cloud.
Energy is something abstract in the sense you cannot define it. You cannot find it physically.
So also the universe came from smoke, so it's not amusing to say that it's not a white cloud.
That's not energy. That is a bunch of particles and taken out. That
sure,
they're not different. But let us remove from our mind that energy is not something like cloud.
Then let him use his own umbrella, and then you have yours. Much easier. There you go.
With white color, as it is portrayed in animations of kind of things. Now, what is energy? Energy is basically ability. Energy is basically ability. Okay. Energy. So the basic definition in physics starts with like this, So energy is the ability to do work, and work is the effect. You have what does work mean? Work means the force into. The effect of force into changing the distance or how much distance.
You're talking about a slightly different type of energy, and that's more the expression of energy rather than what energy fundamentally is.
So
we're just labeling something.
So we quantify energy in terms of its effects, but we cannot know what energy is.
But is he talking about energy or force? Like, weak and strong electromagnetic force and so on. Are you talking about those forces, or are you talking about energy in a colloquial sense?
The ability sense. Because just forces
I'm just using energy to be the label that refers to the things that exist.
So it has the ability
in our space.
So you are saying that it has the ability. Your space has ability to make all kind of things. It has all the information. That means it contains all the knowledge. It contains all the ability.
Yes.
Now you have said that it maybe now the question comes. So when it has infinite set of information. So this space, your information, there is a infinite set of information. Now if it is chaotic, it can choose chaotically which information I will bring into reality, or it transform into a material sense. So now it may be chaotic in sense, So I can
you need one element of chaos in order to start. The process.
So your chaos is our free will.
Once you actually have expression.
Let's say
No.
Wait.
Chaos is a lack of knowledge.
Yeah, that's I'm going there. I'm going there. So
there's always an order.
I'm coming. So we have done we have clarified what energy is, and so you mean that there is ability in this space. Now, as far as chaos is concerned, so the definition goes with like that. It is a relative concept in the sense that we cannot predict for certainty.
Yes.
Yeah. So if we cannot bound it into a law. So irregularity or pattern. So that's why it has inherent sense of uncertainty. And now in the quantum reality, we see that the things are chaos. I mean, in the sense that uncertain, but it has ability. It has the rule. It follows rule.
We're not really making progress on anything like meaningful. I'm almost going there.
I have almost gone there. So the thing is that first you have accepted that eternal entities or whatever entities may be one or as far as your definition your definition is concerned, it is the source of all possibilities. So it can contain God. You know.
Yes.
You agree down there? Yeah.
In the sense,
So
that is
because
an expression of energy that exists. The thing I disagree with is the idea of that being unified, being able to refer
let us go to that
as one thing, because it is all things, always. But
let's simplify. When you reduce, when you
just an energetic expression.
We understand that. No, when you reduce to the essential eternal thing, which possesses ability and power, possesses volitional will, we say there will be conflict of will if there's more than one. The moment you assign and ascribe will to an essential
if
thing,
you have a will and I have a will, there is no conflict of those two wills.
Let me explain. When we're talking about something that is...
that there can be that in existence at the same time as there being anything else.
Can we just explain? Can we just explain a bit more? Whenever you postulate a concept in which there can be more than one eternal thing, right?
Yes.
And this eternal thing possesses wills. There will be essentially, necessarily conflict of will. That's our position. And since there will be essential conflict of will, by logic and reason,
I don't think you can have an infinite will. It would not be able to make a determination.
But necessary by definition is one. You can't have more than one necessary being.
The reason why you say one is because there is a reason for making into one. What we're saying is, if you postulate, bring many examples, many things which are eternal, possessor of knowledge, not knowledge, we said power and ability and will or volition. We are saying as Muslims, there will be conflict of will. Do you not see that?
But also,
yes and no. So there's if there is some part of the fundamental thing, whatever has existed pre-eternally, that is chaotic, that is non-determined by anything else. It's not a will.
Okay, let me give you a scenario. I got you. Let me give you an example.
Okay, I'd like to do this.
I got you. Two chaotic things. Okay, let's take 5 of these eternal things, and they all operate under chaos, rule of chaos, right? Now, because let's reduce it to 5. Sure. Now I'm going to give you a thought experiment. Chaotically, because they're not bound by any rules, it's possible, just like when you arbitrarily roll a dice, you can get one by you and one by you as well, right?
Yes.
So now, one of those things is, okay, I want to destroy everything that exists. Other one says, I want to create even more.
All right. If all
by chaos.
All those
what's going to happen?
Chaotic existences have expressed themselves in some way. They just interact, and fine. You may have conflict in the sense.
That's what I'm saying. So when you
then get separation.
No. Can you follow with my argument? So one of those essential thing, possessor of energy, wants to transform everything to something like, say, into a black football, right? Black ball, black sphere. Another one.
That's why you have us.
Please, listen to my examples. Another thing, chaotically, came to say it wants to transform everything into a white cube. What's going to happen in reality? Would everything transform into a black sphere or a white cube?
Neither.
So what would it be then?
Whatever the chaotic expressions are, those
Which
would...
one?
Which one is going to happen?
Which one?
Chaotically, you can't have something that would, like,
Meaningful outcome.
a chaotic event would be...
No, you have
very
now,
infinitely
chaotically,
singular.
this is the decision it made, because it's possessor of energy and power, ability.
And
It can do that.
expression.
Let me
You
explain
can't
everything.
remove all expression
No, let me
from
remove,
expression
please, let me
with a chaotic
explain.
event. That is
These
an impossibility.
these things, these eternal things, possesses so much energy and ability. You're not really thinking it through. These things, I want to
If
explain.
you would accept...
Can I explain
God,
first, and then you
God
can
could create philosophical nothingness.
please. Can I explain first, and you can
pop
respond?
himself out of all existence.
Can I explain first, and you can
And I'm on
explain?
the
Yeah?
same page, yeah.
Let me explain. You can respond. These eternal things, they possess so much power, is beyond your imagination, because they eternally exist with this inherent power and ability. So that means their power is like infinitely
Boundless divisions, boundless
please.
expressions.
That power that one of this eternal thing possess is so much in magnitude that it can do what it wants to do chaotically.
Sure.
Right. So it wants to reduce everything, all information, into a black sphere. It can do that because it has this inherent power and ability to do so.
But so does all the other things.
At the same time, there's another eternal thing, possessor of equal amount of power, wants to make it into a white cube. What's going to happen?
Well, fine, then they make their thing into whatever they want it to be. And you get both existing.
Think. This is the time to use our rationality. Is it possible when you have a conflict of will like this, both of these things can happen?
You know what we as a result? You know what we as a result? Nothing.
We interference will occur.
And we know we're
where the
here.
contradiction
We know it's something.
So, if you've got God, the infinite choice.
By your paradigm, yeah.
No, don't bring in. One of the things I noticed, my friend, what's your name?
Joseph.
Joseph.
Yeah.
Joseph. Raihan. Sarwar. Mansur. What's your name? Alexis. Alexis. Okay. Raihan. Okay. So what we are saying, one of the things we have noticed, instead of defending one's ideological standpoint, one finds it comforting and comfortable to attack the position of others. We are ready to defend ours, but that's not the discussion. The discussion was about your concept that you brought forward as an alternative. So instead of going to what if God chose to do this and that, leave that aside. Defend your position in which you have more than one eternal things with will and volition and so much energy and power and ability that they want to do.
You're the one
things.
imposing a will onto it. A will is.
You agreed.
Sorry?
You agreed.
I didn't. No. A will is something that comes into being from an expression of something.
Okay.
And
So
where
you're
there
going
is a
back now.
separation.
You're going back one step. Are you saying from these eternal things will proceed without any volition? It just happens, or is it happened because of a what? A law?
Because of a chaotic expression,
Can we
random
just
event.
stick with that example that you gave? With the outcome?
No, he's saying they won't will that. So you're now taking the will part away. We're going back one step.
Exactly.
I'm losing you a
you're
little
saying
bit on
that
some of the
random
concepts as to exactly what
Something that we affirmed earlier, now you're backtracting. You're retracting.
Let's go there. So you say that it is a random event. Event means some change, Whether it's random or regular, that is different issue. But as far as event is concerned, it is a change. That means it was not earlier in that position or that state. It has transformed. Now you are saying that it is not will. So how can it come about the change? This change, how can it come? So if it is not following a rule, it is completely chaotic. So how it transforms into another thing? So if it is not will.
How do transformations occur if there was no volition or will involved?
Even if random events.
Even in random.
Yeah.
Because randomness, things to happen, transformation to happen.
It's a quality of
it something must say, do like you press a button of a remote, then the TV is switched on. Without pressing it, without that thing, this is not going to happen. So if you have eternal things existing eternally, nothing will proceed from them.
Do you follow?
It's just a human construct. That's all.
Yeah. So another thing is that if you think of it, and another thing is that sorry. Another thing is that so if there are many eternal things with conflicting, sorry,
just language.
Yeah, sorry.
We have to go to Maghrib.
Sorry.
Let's wrap this up.
So the thing is that what will prevent them from unifying? Is there any law or something or eternally that is preventing them from unifying? Is there anything necessary, eternally existing, that is preventing from them unifying?
That's an interesting idea. I might have to explore that.
If there is nothing, then what will happen? Brother Mansur has already said that it will reduce to a single entity. With all single entity, it has the characteristic of unification, and also the randomness will come as the manifestation of its random will or free will. Yes? So we'll have. You think about this.
To me, there seems to be a contradiction there, where you say if you have a unification of infinity, how do you then get a singular expression of anything else to be in existence? How do you make a determination of something?
Yeah, so that's why
from an infinite possibility.
That's why we have said that it contains the quality of free will. In the unified, you have unified all the things. Now, where you feed the randomness, into the will, the free will. You have randomness, but within the unified free will. So you have, in our model, it is consistent. It can unify, and it can have the characteristic of randomness from our perspective. So this is.
So how does that determination get made? How does one?
Because within randomness, there's a set of outcomes. Okay. Just like, for example, if you throw a domino, if you throw a dice, from my perception, it's randomness, but what's the possibility? There's a set of outcome. Either it will fall in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sure. So in reality, randomness doesn't exist.
If you were able to roll a perfect spherical dice that had an infinite number of sides,
but infinite number doesn't exist. That's my point.
But
think about it in a different way.
In the mind of God, right?
I think what you're questioning the mind of God. That's the problem. You are questioning the very concept of the mind of God. What we're saying is, look, what seems reasonable? This eternal thing that exists and transform things, everything into all this beautiful, precise, harmonious order by volition, or it just happens? Which one seems reasonable? Let's reduce it to common sense.
To me, I don't think that the idea that it is certainly chosen makes sense.
Yeah. So to you, you can sit there in your warehouse, and all the components are there, and you can assume by randomness, without volition, you can get a beautiful Lamborghini. That's more sensible to you compared to compared to someone or something determines by volition to put things and assemble things together, to transform things together from one to the, because it's all about transformation.
Creating,
making. Let me finish my statement. Making a Lamborghini
that appears
or a Rolls Royce is a transformation. This transformation to you, this transformation, which makes sense, is this: you have a warehouse in which you sit there, no one or no thing wills to transform it in that order. It just happens, and to us, we say it's more reasonable and more rational.
But the warehouse is infinite.
All
expressions of every permutation of universes of things all get expressed, and in one of them, the Lamborghini gets created by random chaos.
Exactly. So in your belief, no, just let's finish this example. In your belief,
there is an aspect of that. Yes, there is a necessary part to but there's not in the actual strict philosophical sense of yes. There is no other possible arrangement.
The reason why I ask is because you're critiquing God's will. Okay? God's will that brings all of us into existence.
He prefers randomness rather than one agency with volition.
Exactly. So my question is, if we go by your paradigm, if we go by your paradigm, that means all of us are necessary.
So we can say that.
Think about it.
But it's necessary based on something in determined.
What underpins the existence of all dependent things? That's what you should ask yourself.
I think because we have to go, think about this.
Sure.
What is not really helpful in your position, the universe is actually in one unified, orderly reality. That's why science can operate in this uniformity of nature. So when you bring chaotic theory in there, it cannot explain why there's uniformity in nature. Because chaos, by definition, there shouldn't be anything uniform. Things should not be like this.
But that's still bounded. Once you have a
no, you cannot. You cannot.
That's by definition. If you have an event.
No, that's your expression of chaos, but in reality, it's not chaos. That's your expression. It's your expression of chaos, but in reality,
we would have to write something down. Go through it in a bit more detail.
You know what we're trying to say.
Yeah, I do. I think so. Okay. And there is something a bit more fundamental. I'd have to extract the point where we disagree. We're mostly on the same page.
Think of your own free will. It is unified. Think of your own decision. You take the decision unified in a unified manner.
And I walk around, I don't see any point to God to believing it.
It's not about whether you need the creator. It's objectively if there's a creator.
Sure, but then why would you care?
Sorry?
Why would you care?
It's not about caring. It's about whether it exists or not. I don't care if you don't. I don't care if you don't believe this tree exists, but the tree does exist. Either you believe or not.
Okay, but that has no impact or effect.
Come back. Probably not.
That's not the point.
So you go to Maghrib, inshallah.
That's not the point. I'm talking about the existence of the
creator had no purpose.
So we're much in agreement. The only one element of disagreement is about
what I'm saying to you.
Why does
Saying that you don't need a creator does not negate the existence of the creator.
Free will
And
the sense of randomness within his
or no purpose or no great design.
Where'd you get that understanding from?
Okay, so the only thing that is of any meaning or value to me is only what I experience. If I cease to exist, and that is the eternity of my existence, then nothing else of any worth or meaning
Based
matters.
upon your paradigm, which is subjective.
Yes, that's all I am. Right? All
So it's
I
not
am is
objective.
subjective. Sorry?
So it's not objective. Your paradigm. So why should I? See, this is the point I'm saying. Let's talk about
instead of going into subjectivity and objectivity, let's summarize with this.
Can I carry on this conversation more interesting?
Subjective objectivity is not really. It's not really going to drive this conversation.
No, because he says that I don't need a creator. That's
No. Even if there is a creator,
it's not about need.
You're changing the paradigm.
It's not about need.
The only reason that it would be worthwhile to care about that
model
is if there is some consequence to you personally for your actions.
That's religion. That's religion. We're just talking about the existence of the creator.
What's the point of talking about that? That's just an abstract, isn't it? It doesn't mean anything to you or me.
But
It's not an experience of anything. Human to human.
Sorry, is this the same conversation?
It's the same conversation.
You're talking about religion, purpose of existence, etc. I'm not talking about that. What we are discussing about is the existence of the creator.
So let's sure.
Can we go for
this?
But to summarize this, what I understood from you, you see, if there's chaos in our reality, by chaotic understanding of nature, you should one day become a tomato, next day become a cabbage, because there's no rules. You can't just simply say, oh, chaos determined these laws, physical laws of our universe, and it's going to be like that forever. No. That means chaos is going to operate even within this rules, and tomorrow you'll wake up like a turtle. Next day,
that's not what I'm saying.
That's what chaos truly means. If there is chaos governing our universe,
if no rule has been determined, then no rules will be followed.
Now, do you understand?
When a rule is defined chaotically, the rule is defined.
You're missing the point. If chaos exists in reality,
exists after chaos.
Can I say one thing?
You didn't get it.
Chaos is a human construct that's due to lack of knowledge. Okay? Now, if we say one second.
Very, very complex maths.
No. One second. There are many things in science that we were ignorant of. and we cannot explain why this happens.
That's an understatement.
Of course it is, yeah. But as scientists study the nature, the natural phenomena with their discoveries, they can now understand why.
Sorry, we're still in
Why does supernova burst? You think it's chaotic? But there's a reason, there's a purpose. So when you say chaos, this is due to our lack of knowledge.
No.
This is the problem. Okay, but there's always an order. Which
I'm talking about something pre the existence of the universe, before rules and stuff were chaotically induced in.
No, we're not talking about something before. We're talking about. No, we're talking about the concept. I'm talking about.
Once a rule is chaotically defined, you can't undefine.
That's oxymoron. That's paradox.
Why can this rule not be changed by chaotic theory? That's your contradiction already.
Because it's been determined.
No, by who? By who? By chaos. Yeah, the same chaos can overrule that rule.
There is still.
Can you clarify one thing? Can you clarify that? Are you saying once a rule is determined, chaotic rule or principle cannot change it?
It's like married bachelor.
Cannot change
Married
it?
and
That's absurd.
That's absurd.
That's totally a self-refutation of your own position. If you have chaos,
I need to be able to explain something a lot better to you and have more time.
okay, we can talk about it later. But I think we've come to a position where it's a self-refuting concept.
No, it's not.
Okay, Joseph, we're going to have to go for our prayer, evening prayer. Pleasure speaking to you. And we're going to go, inshallah. Let's go. Let's sum it up. Okay, let's go.
Just got to pray.